Welcome to another episode of Stand on Guard. I am your host, David KRAYDEN, and when we come back momentarily, what's happening now in the House of Commons? More excitement.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, please like the station. We're doing it, folks. We're beating YouTube censorship every day. Every day you hit that like button, you share this broadcast with your friends and family. We beat YouTube censorship. This is a program about policy, about ideas. This is not a program of entertainment, just casting aspersions at unpopular politicians. Easy to do that. Harder to come up with solutions and to discuss ideas. Easier to do the ad hominem insults. Yeah, I know I'm tough on Trudeau, but we have to be. But I'm doing whole shows about how much we all hate Justin Trudeau. That's not productive. Trudeau will be gone someday. Let's face it. He's not going to stay on forever as leader any more than his father did. Although there were times for those of us who lived through the first Trudeau era thinking that maybe he would be there forever. But Justin is on the verge of leaving. And so what happens when he leaves? Is it suddenly going to be a land of milk and honey again? No, there's still a fight to go on. We have to persevere and keep fighting for ideas. That's the point I try to make here every day. That's why I say resolve to resist. And that's going to mean resolving to resist when we have a new government as well. And I'll continue to encourage that new government to implement real, principled, conservative policies. So we're going to be looking at what's happening in the House of Commons right now. And of course, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was silenced again by Speaker Greg Fergus. You recall earlier this year, he was turfed out of the House, out of question period, because he called Justin Trudeau a wacko. And he said Trudeau had, quote, he had wacko politics. No controversy there, as far as I'm concerned. But he really got into trouble because he went after our beloved Foreign Affairs Minister, Mélanie Joly, who really took offense when he said that she's pandering to Hamas, trying to have it both ways in this war in Gaza. And I'll go into how I really feel about this a little later. But he also went further and said that she is trying to run for the Liberal leadership. I guess that's beyond the pale right now, as long as Justin Trudeau says, I'm still in control. Let's listen to this.
I gave the Foreign Affairs Minister two opportunities to condemn the increasingly common and terrifying anti-Semitic chants we hear in the streets. Israel will soon be gone. There is only one solution, intifada, revolution. Twice she refused to condemn those remarks. She continues to pander to Hamas supporters in the Liberal Party as part of her leadership campaign rather than doing her job. So I'll give her another chance. Will she publicly support Israel's right to retaliate against the tyrants of Tehran and the terrorists in Hezbollah and Hamas to protect itself? Yes or no?
Yeah.
If we don't do politics about...
I just want to encourage all members to ensure, consistent with rulings in the past, and I will come back to this near the end of question period, but just to caution all members to please be judicious in their words. The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, if there's a day where we don't do politics about people's lives being taken or people being killed, it's today.
Okay, I got to admit, that's a piercing look she's giving Poilievre there. Is she on the verge of prayer? She has her hands together. What day are we not allowed to talk about people being killed? Now it's October 7th. But isn't that what happened on October? 7. It's really a ludicrous argument.
We are all against any form of anti-Semitism, I hope, in this House. Any form of discrimination. And I really hope that my colleague in front will apologize.
Right on. Right on.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
There was ever a day when we needed a government to stand up for what was right, this would be that day. This government has sought to divide Canadians by saying one thing to one group and precisely the opposite to another group. And here in this House, remaining radio silent on condemning anti-Semitic chants and on supporting Israel's right to truly defend itself by retaliating against the terrorists and tyrants. Why won't she do the right thing and stand beside the Jewish people today?
Government give up its veiled support for terrorist sympathizers. The safety of our citizens is the only priority. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
I'll agree with one thing that independent member just said. The safety of our citizens is the only priority. That's why we have a national action plan to combat hatred. That's why we have a bill on the legislature floor right now, Bill C-63, that would target online radicalization that leads...
Liar! Your bill is a censorship bill. It's got nothing to do with targeting online hatred. It's targeting people who disagree with you. That's what Bill C-63 is about. There he is up again. And watch the bald spot on the back of this guy's head. What did I tell you when he first introduced this bill? You remember that old Samoan proverb about he who takes away freedom of speech will lose his hair?
Leads to anti-Semitism. How does somebody get to the point where they're targeting a Jewish day school, a Jewish daycare, or a Jewish synagogue? Because they are radicalized online. That same bill has augmentation of penalties for willful promotion of anti-Semitism, public incitement of hatred, and advocating genocide. That's a bill that not every party in this chamber supports, and that's what we need to get behind.
Notice, the bald spot enlarged. This is what happens when you take away free speech. Bill C-63 has no intention of protecting anybody. It's about Trudeau taking away your free speech.
Sorry, point of order, the Honourable Member, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
So, Mr. Speaker, on the same point of order, one of the concerns that we've expressed in the past, and it's related to what it is that you just finished ruling out, the Leader of the Official Opposition, and we support your statement, Mr. Speaker, but we want to make it clear in terms of ensuring that all members are treated equally and that the Leader of the Conservative Party not be allowed to speak until he's actually given a formal apology.
Okay, so what's he apologizing for? Can somebody explain this to me? What is he apologizing for? It's never clear in any of this, but he was banned from speaking in the House yesterday. So Pierre Poilievre delivered a news conference outside of the House. And I want to comment on this. And there's a lot of material here. I don't know if we have time to go through it all. But it's very important that we address this issue of what's happening to Canada right now.
But worse than anything else is what we see in our streets today. What has happened to our country? The division, the violence, the hate, the danger, the anti-Semitism that we've never seen before in this country. Now, it's easy to blame the firebombing of synagogues, the hateful genocidal protests, protest chants in front of Jewish businesses, homes, and hospitals as simply a reaction to a conflict in the Middle East. Doesn't make sense. First, hate crime was up over 100% before October 7th. And second, this is not the first time there's been a conflict in the Middle East. There was the war of 1967. And then there was the Yom Kippur War in 73. There were 2 intifadas. There was the war against Hezbollah in 2006. There was the operation against Hamas in 2014. We never saw that violence spill onto our streets. We didn't see people bring those hatreds into Canada. But after 9 years of Trudeau's radical ideology, his deliberate attempts to divide people into groups, his reckless destruction of our border security.
That's a key phrase there, his reckless dividing people into groups. That is key. That's identity politics, and that's what's at play here. This is why Justin Trudeau is fomenting division over the war in Gaza. He loves the fact that there's protests in the streets over this constantly. He loves the fact that people are distracted by events in the Middle East. He keeps him in power.
Letting in 2 ISIS terrorists, one apparently videotaped mutilating a human body on a crucifix and subsequently making that person a citizen. These kinds of reckless policies and the actions of this government, the refusal to condemn these remarks. Just yesterday, the Minister of Foreign Affairs did something unbelievable on the floor of the House of Commons. I read the genocidal comments that have been made by these radical mobs, and I said, would you just condemn it? From the river to the sea, she wouldn't condemn that. Israel will soon be gone. She wouldn't condemn that. There's only one solution, intifada, revolution. She wouldn't condemn that. She wouldn't even affirm Israel's right to retaliate against other countries attacking it. She should apologize. A foreign affairs minister in Canada should find it very easy to condemn those kinds of remarks, but she didn't because she's pandering politically, which is what Justin Trudeau has been doing for the last 9 years. Today, we see that on our streets, the organization Samadoun, which is a front for the PFLP, has been fomenting these violent and horrific protests and mob actions. This organization is a front for an already banned terrorist group, and it is an offense under Section 83.5 of the Criminal Code, as enacted by the Anti-Terrorism Act, to knowingly act on behalf of, at the direction of, or in association with a terrorist entity. Specifically, Samadoun's founder, Khalid Barakat, has been described by the Israeli government as a high-ranking member of the PFLP. The PFLP has been placed on the list of banned Canadian terrorist entities for 20 years. In 2021, the Israeli Ministry of National Defense designated Samadoun as an organization that is a subsidiary of the PFLP. Germany banned the Samadoun, saying that it served as an international network which disseminates anti-Israel and anti-Jewish propaganda and supported and glorified various foreign terrorist organizations, including Hamas. Samadoun's leadership was deported from Germany, refused entry into the EU.
Yeah, I'm just going to move ahead here to where we see Samadoun at work here in Vancouver, because Poilievre does go on at length about this. The BC Conservative Party also has released this about Samadoun. This is very significant. Now watch what happens here in Vancouver. And this is what is so unacceptable. We have groups that are so distracted by events in the Middle East that they think they have to burn Canadian flags.
Of course, how revolution could possibly be done. Men who have never known a free day, who have lived their entire lives under the thumb of one of the most powerful settler colonies in the world, built paragliders to fly over a wall so high that it blocked out the sun when you stood underneath it. Do not wonder how revolution can be done. We must do it. Death to Canada. Death to the United States, and death to Israel.
Okay, clearly this is a group that has gone way beyond the parameters of peaceful protest against the war in Gaza, against Israel. This is a communist group. This is a group led by Antifa. And these pro-Palestinian people, I assume most of them are Muslims, are being played for fools by the communists. And I'll tell you why. The Muslims I marched with on the million-person March for Children are not communists. They don't like Justin Trudeau's regime because it promotes gender ideology and a radical left-wing agenda. That's what they disagree with. But they're proud Canadians, and they would never burn a Canadian flag. And they don't want revolution. This is designed to divide Canadians one from another on the basis of religion. And any people who are playing into this are being played for fools by communists and far-left organizations. That's what this is about. And Poilievre is quite right to call this out. By the same token, if you think we need a war in the Middle East to escalate into a nuclear war, if you think we need to attack Iran and have a third world war as a consequence, then you are being played as well by the military-industrial complex that wants war to continue endlessly. We need peace in the Middle East, peace for everybody. And I have been pro-Israel my entire life. I spent time at a kibbutz. But I want peace in the Middle East because this has gone way too far. We need peace, and we cannot have this regional conflict escalating into a nuclear war. And we need everybody to acknowledge that as the basis of going forth. Now, this is a screen capture of what this group plans is terrorist attacks. This is clearly not about protesting the war in the Middle East. This is about communist revolution. This is what these groups are about. And this is why anybody who's being captured by them are fools. Here they are trying to burn a Canadian flag. You say, why isn't that flag burning? Have we ever tried to burn a pair of nylons? Flags are made out of polyester nylon now. Nylon does not burn, it melts. So the pictures you used to see of flags being burned, those are cotton flags. That's why the flag is not burned. But that's what they're trying to do. And this is BS. This is an insult to every military member who wears the flag on his or her shoulder, as I did when I was serving overseas. This is an insult to all Canadians as well. And we don't need this crap, this distraction from what's going on in Canada. Stop thinking that what really matters is what's happening overseas when we have issues to deal with in Canada. But at the same time, we do need to draw back from nuclear war because that is the ultimate insanity. But these people are fomenting nuclear war by causing strife and division. They're just as much a part of the problem that way as they are communists. They're trying to keep that flag burning. These people are idiots. And why is this happening in Vancouver? Why is this happening in the province that I grew up in? This is absolute lunacy. And do you get the feeling it's spiraling out of control? Do you get the feeling that we have lost control? I do. I do. Now, before we leave here, I want to talk about a couple of things that are very, very, very important. And by the way, the Conservatives have said again, after he silenced Pierre Poilievre, it's time to fire Greg Fergus. Yeah. We'll see how far that goes because the NDP always supports him. But Greg Fergus, this is the second time he has censored Pierre Poilievre, and it's certainly worth trying again to get rid of this guy who was the parliamentary secretary to Justin Trudeau. Yeah, and so Poilievre should be back today in the House. Maybe Trudeau will be too. He still hasn't appeared in the House since he took his little trip to Paris for the Francophonie Summit. I want to talk about church burnings because this has been an issue that continues, shall I say, burn. We need to discuss why churches are burning across Canada. This is a map of all those churches that have been burned. Goes from one. In fact, it goes from coast to coast to coast, literally. Look at that. Up in the north, far west coast, east coast of Newfoundland and Labrador. Why is this happening? Well, it's very interesting because, here's just recent examples here. This is just last week. Church went up in flames. There was suspicious activity going on before the fire. Police aren't saying it's arson, but they're not saying it's not arson. Same here in Saskatchewan. Again, this church went up for no possible reason. Nobody was even in the church at the time. So it's not like somebody was smoking, or it's not like somebody was using the kitchen and a stove fire erupted. No, there's nobody in the church. Now, how did it just spontaneously go on fire? Well, how did the blaze start? There's obviously something behind this. And what is worrisome is that Justin Trudeau continues to retreat from remarks that he made about this being totally understandable. Yes, Justin Trudeau said that. And we've got the clip to prove it, because his handlers are saying, oh, Trudeau never said that. No, Trudeau didn't say that. That's fake news. You made that up. No, it's not. Justin Trudeau has clearly said it's understandable because Christians have been guilty of so many horrendous sins in the past, including, of course, this goes back to the residential school issue. And that's why these churches are being destroyed, apparently, as some sort of retribution for residential school. And Trudeau says that's understandable. Let's listen to him.
Funding to help protect churches from vandalism and violence, but the Federal Security Infrastructure Program stopped taking applications last November. I know that there is new funding in the budget, so when will the program start taking applications again? And if I may, as a Catholic, what's your reaction that houses of your faith are being targeted for the church's role in the residential school system?
As you know, Ashley, we have put in place a security infrastructure program that partners with places of worship to be able to put in cameras and security systems to keep those institutions safe from what is unfortunately a rise of intolerance and racism and hatred that we're seeing across the country. And certainly we will continue to roll out those funds in partnership with community centers, religious institutions, and others that need that protection.
He's getting
As I've also said, it is unacceptable and wrong that acts of vandalism and arson are being seen across the country, including against Catholic churches. One of my reflections is I understand the anger that's out there against the federal government, against institutions like the Catholic Church. It is real and it is fully understandable given the shameful history that we're all becoming more and more aware of and engaging ourselves to do better as Canadians. But I can't help but think that burning down churches is actually depriving people who are in need of grieving and healing and mourning from places where they can actually grieve and reflect and look for support. We shouldn't be lashing out at buildings that can provide solace to some of our fellow citizens, but we should be every day committing ourselves, each and every one of us, to the hard work we need to do to actually rebuild a path forward that reflects the terrible intergenerational trauma and present-day realities of suffering that we are all collectively responsible for. Évidemment, nous avons des programmes d'aide aux infrastructures religieuses et communautaires qui ont besoin
of aid to the religious infrastructures and communities, and we will continue to be in partnership with them. But it's certain that, as I've already said,
d'articuler la déception
express the disappointment and even fury.
Yeah. Okay. So once again, as he does there's a two-track policy, and Trudeau walks the line. And yeah, it's really too bad these structures are being burned down, because people could go there and be sad. What the hell is he talking about? It's not an affront to faith. This is not an attack on Christianity. And I don't know what kind of Christianity Justin Trudeau espouses. He's what I call a smorgasbord Catholic, meaning he picks and chooses from the table of doctrine, because he's vehemently happy about abortions occurring. He thinks abortion's a wonderful industry. We should have more of them. And it's intrinsic to Canadian identity. It's integral to Canadian democracy. Having abortions is wonderful. And that's somehow at odds with his Catholic faith, is it not? But Justin Trudeau doesn't care. He has no real faith. It's quite obvious. And his argument here is that it's understandable that people are burning these churches down because these Christians have been so wicked. And this, of course, is unacceptable. But that's what we've come to expect from the Justin Trudeau government. So I'm going to probably end it here. Thank you for your indulgence today. And thank you for listening. Thank you for being here on this Wednesday, October 9th. And I hope you're having a great week. We're going to keep reporting on what's happening, give you all the news that you need to know so you can continue to resolve to resist. And I tell you again, we need a new government in Canada. That new government is going to be a Pierre Poilievre-led Conservative government, but we have to keep the pressure on to say, keep doing what we need to do. Because, and not just because we say we don't trust Pierre Poilievre, it's because he's going to need all of the support from the new media and the independent media to do some of the things he's going to need to do. So we need to be encouraging, and we need to keep fighting for conservative, small c, conservative principles to be enacted as legislation in the new government. And I say that now. And don't let the military-industrial complex or crazy woke groups distract you from the goal, which is to preserve world peace, not have a nuclear war, but not have woke leftist communist revolution in Canada, which these groups want. It's all about destroying the country that we all believe in. And that is unacceptable, and that is worth fighting back against. Thank you for watching today. I'll be back again tomorrow.